I've just done an oversight visit to Roosevelt Secondary School together with also the convener of Region B of the EFF in Johannesburg, Fighter Susaba Sono. We met with the acting headmistress, Mrs. Venter, and also her deputy, Mr. Ferreira. And I think we had an extremely constructive conversation about the school, what the school is trying to achieve, the 1,800 students that they have at this school, the over 100 teachers that they have here. And this is a school that reflects the demography of South Africa. The vast majority of learners here are African and black. We've been given all the statistics. It is one of the more privileged schools. It is a fee-paying school. It is in the upper middle class suburb. And of course, the school is one of the success stories in Gauteng. It is one of those schools that work together with the former MEC of Education, who is now the Premier in Gauteng, Mpangazitha. They had a school classroom building program that was very successful. In fact, Roosevelt High School is the school that is the pilot project, an example of how to do these projects for the Department of Education in Gauteng. But there are serious problems in terms of how the online Department of Education system works for admissions. It seems to be a system that is very mechanical. It often doesn't take into consideration the particular circumstances of learners and of parents. It places them in a very mechanical way within a 5-kilometer radius of the school, but then sometimes allocate learners who are within that 5-kilometer radius to schools that are far away. All of these are challenges, and what we need to understand is that many of the parents who have to register students to come to this school are not necessarily computer literate, and the online system is an IT system that is quite complex, and it is often difficult for parents to register online. What also tends to be a problem is that the information that is garnered through the online system is quite limited, while the school needs detailed information about a learner for the final registration process. The school demands of the parents, together with the learners, to come to the school to finalize that registration process. But unfortunately, many of the parents, because of a lack of proper communication through the online system, don't come to the school in advance and only come on the day of admission, which causes bottlenecks. As we are standing here today, there's a long queue of parents, and we can show that queue. These parents are not yet happy with the registration of their children. They're still waiting for their children to be registered. And of course, if the online system could function better, if the communication also with parents, once they are admitted with their children to become learners at this school, is done in a more adequate way, part of this queuing at the school at the beginning of the academic year can be avoided. But overall, this is a well-functioning school. I was impressed with the reports that we've received from the headmistress, Mrs. Venter, and from her deputy, Mr. Ferreira. I'm impressed with the make-do attitude that they have, and this school is one of the example schools, one of the schools that is presented as an example of how the system should try to function. So I say to Roosevelt High, well done. I'm impressed with what I heard from the headmistress, and I'm impressed with the way that they are dealing with issues in the school, and I hope that their example can be emulated by many of the other schools who are faced with far more serious problems. Thank you. We just visited the Greenside High School, which is also part of the Johannesburg sub-region B. And I'm together with the convener of this sub-region, Fighter Sechaba Sono. We had a very good meeting with the Deputy Headmaster, Mr. Nicholas Liebenberg, and he informed us that the school overall is doing quite well in terms of the registration of students. Of course, it is also one of those schools that are more privileged. It is a school that is in one of the more upmarket suburbs of northern Johannesburg. But the main issue, of course, that they are faced with is the registration of grade 8 students. And they also face the same problems with the Gauteng Department of Education online registration system that tends to be quite mechanical in terms of the allocation of students to schools and do not always take the personal circumstances of students into consideration. But overall, my impression is that this is a well-run school. It is a school that is considerably well-resourced, and it is a fee-paying school where about 65% of the parents of the students are able to pay the fees, while the rest of the fees are subsidized by the Department of Education. Mr. Liebenberg also shared with us that the infrastructure in the school is quite well maintained. Generally, they have enough classrooms, although one of the problems that has been identified is that there are 4 classes that are still built from asbestos, and those classes will have to be demolished, those structures, because as we know, it is unacceptable to have asbestos structures because of the health hazards that asbestos also will pose for the learners and the teachers who have to work in that environment. But I was happy to hear that this year they're going to demolish those classrooms and rebuild them with the necessary acceptable materials. There's about 1,000 students at the school and 80 teachers. The majority of students are African and Asian, and then there is a minority of white students in the school. Overall, my impression is that the school is functioning well. It doesn't have a problem with regards to learning materials and stationery. That is well organized in terms of what the parents contribute and also what the school contributes out of the school fees. It is also clear to me that the other infrastructural issues that some schools in the poorer areas of our society and our townships are faced with, like electricity and water security, is not a problem at this school. They have a solar backup system, and they also have a borehole on the premises. So when there are water shortages, they are able to cover those water shortages with the borehole, and electricity is supplemented by the solar electricity generation that they have. So to conclude, my impression is that the school is doing well, that the registration process is also going quite well. If we can pan the camera to the back, we can see where some of the parents are sitting. Can you just turn the camera there? They are waiting to deal with registration, and they are waiting to get certainty that their children will be admitted into the school. As we were walking out of the Deputy Principal's office, we were approached by some parents who did express concerns about the term, the period that they have to wait to get finalization for their children's registration. We engaged with them. There were also parents who raised concerns with us about other schools that do not admit their children. I'm not going to mention the names of that schools now because we need to investigate those particular allegations that the parents made. But we will pay visits to those schools, and we will make sure that the issues that the parents have raised with us are actually taken up. Thank you. We just finished a visit at the Parktown Girls High School. Obviously, this is a privileged school. You can see it just as you enter the property that it is a school of privilege. It is in the Parktown area. It has a school population of 1,100 girls, and we met with the headmistress, Mrs. Gail Davidson, who informed us that they're now going through the process of registering at least 230 grade 8 applications. She also explained to us some of the challenges that they are faced with the Gauteng Department of Education online registration system that has made it difficult for some of the students who believe that they are registered to know that they have actually not yet been accepted. And she shared with us the heartbreaking example of 3 young learners who have arrived today in full school uniform, but they're not on the system. But what impressed me is that she said they would find a way of allowing these young learners to get registered and to be at the school. And she showed great understanding and empathy also for the experience of these young learners who come, who are in a group. Their names are not being read out when the list of registration is read out, and of course that is a very disconcerting and humiliating experience for these young girls. I was impressed by the facilities that the Parktown Girls High have. And it also emphasized to me again the huge disparities, the huge inequalities that we have in our South African society and even within our government school system. Because on the one hand, you have schools like Parktown High School for Girls, obviously a very privileged school, and then some of the other schools that we will be visiting today and in the upcoming days are schools in some of the poorest areas of South Africa, some of the poorest areas of Gauteng, and none of the facilities that we see here are facilities that are available to those students. These inequalities are truly unacceptable. And we understood from Ms. Davidson that as far as issues of infrastructure, issues of also availability of learning materials and stationery, they are not faced with a problem. They are able to provide for all the learners, including also those learners that are unable to purchase stationery and other facilities. They have a fundraising strategy in order to make it possible for monies to be available to also take care of the needs of these learners. So overall, it is a school where the majority of learners are Black and African. It is a school where a small minority are white. In that sense, it is a proper reflection of the demographics of South Africa. And although it is a privileged school, I am also happy that Ms. Davidson expressed her commitment that it must remain a government school, a school fee paying school, but at the same time that they do rely on the subsidy that they receive from the Department of Education in order to make things work. She did raise with us some of the structural problems that they have at the school. This is an old school, old buildings. There are some of the buildings, especially the laboratories, that need some repairs, but I was glad to hear that the Department of Education is dealing with these issues and they will be addressed in this year. Once again, there is my concern that when schools like this have infrastructural problems, the department seems to be able to address them and come to the party quite. We're outside the Esperanza Laerskool, and this is the last visit that we have today for our school readiness program, Oversight Visits. We had a meeting with the deputy head of the school, Mr. Pretorius, and we went into quite a lot of detail about the nature of the school. It is a dual medium school, both English and Afrikaans. It being a primary school, obviously the most important part of the intake at the beginning of the year are the grade ones. And Mr. Pretorius shared with us that there's about 140 grade ones that are now coming in for the first time to school. What I really liked about the interaction with Mr. Pretorius was the emphasis that he placed on interaction and communication with the community. And that the school is really playing the role as being a center of engagement, both physical but also through various information platforms, through WhatsApp, through Facebook, etc., with the parents and with members of the community. The school also is a walk-in center for the Department of Education. So parents who have got concerns about the placement of their children in the beginning of the year can come to this school as one of the centers where they can get assistance with the registration of their children. It is a school fees paying school, but of course being in a lower middle class, working class suburb, the percentage of those who are able to pay school fees would be far less than those other schools that we visited today, which are in middle class and upper class suburbs in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg. And obviously there are problems also in this area that are very different from those upper class suburbs where we have been earlier today. Here we would face problems of gangs and of physical abuse, and also gender-based violence within families. And children need to be addressed on these issues, and they need to be assisted to deal with the trauma of these issues. And once again, Mr. Pretorius emphasized the importance of this trauma counseling that they are providing at the school. Overall, the school is a school of about 1,050 learners with 40 teachers. They have a full teacher contingent. And my overall impression is that although it is a school that is faced with challenges, it is still a school where the infrastructure is relatively good. where education is being able to be provided to children, and that basic facilities are in place. Water and electricity is available. The provision of stationery and books to the children is well organized. So in a community that is poor and a community that has social ills, as I said, such as gangs and the problems of drugs, this school is a safe haven for these youngsters, primary school learners. And therefore, we walk away from this school feeling that it is a school that places community first and provides an essential service to this community. Thank you.
Start.
I've just paid a visit to the Generaal Christiaan primary school. We have been received very well by the principal of the school, Mr. Myburg, and also the deputy. And when one arrives at the school here, one's impression is that it is a very well-run school. I commented as we arrived that I don't see many parents here coming to inquire about their children's registration, but as time went on, I see some of the parents are arriving now. But of course, the registration system is the Department of Education online registration, which Mr. Myburg explained to us helps them because it takes some of the pressure away from the school to deal with registration. But at the same time, I think there are still problems with the online registration system in the sense that it does not necessarily always take the personal circumstances of families and of children into consideration. And therefore you sometimes get some very strange placements. You also have a situation that sometimes kids who are close to the school in terms of their residences are placed at schools much further, while other children, perhaps further away, get placed here. So the Department of Education has got a duty to try and tweak the system so that it will be better in terms of the service to the community, and it also must not become impersonal. It must become a system that is able to relate to the circumstances of parents and of learners. But overall, the school is well run. They have taken in 120 new grade 1s, and the principal was kind enough to allow us to go to the 4 classrooms of the grade 1s. They are here today for orientation. We were able to interact with them. It is a very heartwarming experience to go into that class, to see the bright eyes of these young learners full of hope, beautifully kitted out in their new school uniforms. And of course, this school is going to play a very important role in the formation of these children and helping them also to become citizens of our society. Overall, the school is 850 strong in terms of learners, and they've got 24 teachers. The school is representative of the community as far as the African and colored community is concerned, and it is a school fee paying school. I got the impression that the board of the school and also the principal of the school is putting quite a lot of pressure that those parents who can pay must pay. And Mr. Myburg told us that most of the parents are compliant and they are paying. I'm a bit concerned about the pressure that that may bring on some of the parents. And while one understands that these paying of school fees help to create a school that is better financed and better functioning. My concern remains that because of the school fee paying system, we have a situation where some schools are much better off than others. So the inequalities in our society are perpetuated also by this system, and it is really something that we need to look into. The Bella Bill tries to address some of these issues. As we know, as long as the Bella Bill is not fully implemented, grade R's in this school and many other schools have to be school fee paying, and it is in fact possible for the school board and for the administration of the school to exclude children from grade R whose parents are unable to pay. But as soon as the Bella Bill is fully implemented, that will no longer be possible, and that is a positive development. So overall, we've been very well received by the principal and by his deputy. This is a school that gives one hope for the future. It is a school that evidently is well run. Obviously, there are still problems with some of the registration processes. Obviously, there are some parents who are unhappy, and we continue to get calls, and as public representatives of the economic freedom fighters, we try our level best to engage, either to help the parents or at least to explain the system so that they don't feel that they are being victimized. If we walk over here to the other side of the school, I want to show this board that says Laerskool Generaal Christiaan, and then the fact that it is a school fee paying institution. For me, this is understandable, but at the same time, I think the emphasis on it being a school fee paying institution can in some instances be problematic. And this board is of course also an indication of the approach that we did get from the principal, that they are pushing very hard for parents, if they are all able to pay, that they should do so. So these are the impressions that we have, and we will continue to engage with the principal and with his board. We have given our contact details and we received theirs, and this is not the end of our engagement. We will continue to engage with the Laerskool Generaal Christiaan Primary. Thank you. We just concluded a visit to the CJ Botha Secondary School. It is a school that is on the border between Nuclear and Bosman. A secondary school with about 120 new grade 8 students that have been registered already. There's capacity for 240. So there's another 120 that are in the process of being registered at the moment. I had a meeting with the principal of the school, Mr. Bear, and he indicated to me that the school is facing many of the problems that communities such as Nuclear and Bosman is facing. A large part of the parent body here at the school are parents who are unemployed. Therefore, there are many social problems and economic challenges. And most of the students, although the school in the past had been a school fee paying school, most of the parents have not been able to pay the school fees, even the very low base for school fees, which was 20%. And he was happy to say that he's made an application for the school to become a no school fee paying school, and that application has been successful. So from now on, the responsibility for the maintenance of the school, the responsibility for payment for everything at the school is with the Department of Education, which puts a heavy load of his shoulders and the shoulders of the school board. As I said, this is a poor community, a community that is known to have many problems with regards to drugs and also gangsterism. And the principal indicated that many of these problems also eventually come into the school. There are problems of drug abuse and gangsterism in the school. But my impression was that regardless of all these problems, they are still able to provide a reasonably functional school to the community, although many of the students who come from this school are no longer coming from the immediate community of Bosman, which is a more affluent community. They come from poorer areas in Newlands and surroundings. I was also happy to hear that the Sophiatown police station is having a good relationship with the school. It is also coming to engage with the students, to tell them about the consequences of crime, gangsterism and drug abuse. And they do execute raids at the school to find drugs. Of course, that is an unfortunate situation when it is necessary to have police station raids onto a school, but under the circumstances in the school where we are here, it is certainly necessary. I think one of the indications of the difficult circumstances that the teaching body in the school lived with is that this was the only school where the principal felt it was not appropriate for him to take a photo with myself as a public representative because he felt he could be exposed. That indicates the sensitivity and also the vulnerability that people like him and other teachers are faced in this community. My view is that schools like CJ Botha Secondary School need a lot of assistance from us as public representatives, from us as members of Parliament, and especially from us as the economic freedom fighters. The EFF is the party of the poor. It is the party of the downtrodden and the oppressed. This school is an important institution to try and assist those who are truly very vulnerable, downtrodden, oppressed, poor in our communities. And therefore, we as the economic freedom fighters in Region B have to reach out to schools such as CJ Botha, make sure that we engage on a consistent basis with the teachers and with the school board, and make sure that we give what assistance we possibly can to help the school to continue to sustain itself, also to help it to upgrade itself. You can see that the school is not in a good physical state. The buildings need a new layer of paint. Most of the buildings here are 50 years and older. The headmaster indicated that the last time that any of these structures had been painted was more than 10 years ago. So there are urgent issues of maintenance that needs to be addressed. He also indicated to us that the piping and groundwater system of the school is deteriorating because it's an old system and it causes many problems. So what I've promised the principal is that we will continue on a regular basis to engage with him and with the school board. We will follow up on some of the issues that he mentioned with regards to maintenance, also the problems of crime, of drug abuse and of gangsterism. And I will certainly engage also with the Sophiatown police station, with which I've got a good relationship. In fact, I visited the Sophiatown police station late last year on an oversight visit, and we agreed that I adopt that police station as one of the police stations that myself, as a public representative and Member of Parliament, should be working with. The relationship between Sophiatown police station and this school is critical in order to secure the protection of the learners here and the safety of the school in general. I was happy to understand that lighting at the school, floodlights, on the property had been improved, that there's regular policing at the school. All of these things are important in order to protect a very important institution that serves this community, but unfortunately is constantly under attack because of crime, because of poverty. So this is an ongoing relationship that we need to nurture, and in order to show that we as the economic freedom fighters care, we want to serve, and we commit ourselves to service to our people. Thank you.